And I'm so excited about this film. Honestly, I did not know how many Helen Reddy songs I knew until I saw this movie. And I love it. This is such an opportunity to reintroduce this incredible, iconic singer to a younger generation. And I'm very happy that the filmmaker is with us today. Yes. I also want to let you know, before I bring her out, that after the film, we're going to have the singer Lily Donette, who is Helen Reddy's granddaughter, and a songwriter and producer, Alex Hope, and they're going to be performing original songs and music for the film on Festival Street, which is just on north of Wellington on John. You're going to be able to go there. It's at 8 o'clock at the Slate Music Stage, and you can see this wonderful performance on the street this evening after the film. And now for our guests, I'm going to start by bringing out the filmmaker. She was born in Seoul, raised in Australia. She's here with us today to present her latest film, I Am Woman. Please welcome Unjoo Moon.
As Helen would always want me to say, hello everybody, not ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited for you to see the film that we've made and to learn more about Helen. I remember when Cameron, the other artistic director of this film festival, wrote to me. He said, I can't tell you how much I can't wait for people to fall in love with Helen all over again. And to embrace her again. And so I'm truly excited. I'm here with my wonderful team who I got to make this movie with. Should I introduce them? So first of all, I would like to introduce you to the wonderful actress who plays Helen Reddy, Tilda Cobham-Hervey. And another wonderful Australian actor who she actually gets to play an Australian for the first time, and plays Helen's friend Lillian Roxon, is Danielle Macdonald. And playing Jeff Wald, who was Helen's husband and manager, is the incredible Evan Peters. So I first met Helen 6 years ago, and about a year later, we decided to make her story into a movie. And the person that's been on this journey with me all this time has been an incredible partner and has walked side by side with me every step of the way is my producer, Rosemary Blight. And in 2014, Helen had a very short comeback tour, and the writer Emma Jensen, who's about to come out, and I got to see her perform. I got to work with a pretty amazing cinematographer, and I have to confess I get to go home with him at night too, because I'm married to him, is Dion Beebe. And we're also really lucky to have our composer and my very long-time friend, Raphael May, here. So we really hope you enjoy the movie, and we'll talk to you after the film.
Congratulations. And I think from all of us, thank you. Thank you for making this film. Yes, it's very beautiful.
I was really nervous before the screening, so thank you so much for enjoying it.
So we have some time to talk to everyone, and one of the things I wanted to ask Unjoo, because she mentioned you'd been working on the project for 6 years, and just what inspired you, what moved you to bring Helen Reddy's life and career to the screen?
When I first realized I was actually sitting I was at an awards dinner, and I realized I was actually at the same table as Helen Reddy. I actually made Dion swap seats with me because I wanted to sit next to her, because as soon as I heard the name, it just brought back really strong memories for me. I was a very young girl growing up in Australia in a suburb called on the North Shore, and I had a very powerful memory of watching my mother and her friends who were like incredibly strong, intelligent women, but who were mostly, because it was a different era and a different time, they were mostly mothers and homemakers. But when this song came on, I have such a powerful memory of how they used to just, like, literally sit in the station wagon, roll down the window, let loose their hair, and start singing at the top of their voices. And I saw a whole nother group of women emerge. And so when I met Helen, I really wanted to know what inspired her to write this song. And I have to say that by the time, I think it was just before dessert was served, I realized she had the most incredible story, and that was really inspiring to listen to. But I also was convinced that somebody must have told this story already. But I realized that nobody had, and that it would kind of be up to me to do it.
Well,
and I'm really lucky that Helen trusted me with her story. I always said to Helen, and in the very early days, I spent almost a year with her, even before we started turning it into a film, just taking walks with her along the beach and eating at restaurants and just learning about her life. And I always said to her, when we make it a movie, I can't promise you that I will get every event right. I can't promise you that everything will be in the order exactly how it happened. But the one thing I promise you is that when I make a film about your life, Helen, I will keep the spirit of who you are, what your story was, and what this song meant to people.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. So we have some time to take some questions from the audience, if anyone would like to start. Yeah, I see a question over there. Go ahead. So it's your first festival? Oh, wow.
So great you came.
Someone is here from Sydney and Toronto for the first time and here seeing this movie. This is incredible.
You know, what's really interesting is that a lot of people actually didn't know that Helen Reddy was Australian. And we were talking about this in the press conference today, that a lot of Australians didn't know that she was Australian.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, right. Incredible.
So the question's about your preparation for the role of Helen Reddy.
First of all, thank you very much. That means a lot. Yeah, I did a lot of preparation. It was a huge and daunting task at 24 to be given the role of honouring such an extraordinary woman and getting to track her life for 20 years. I was very lucky to, first of all, Unjoo knew Helen and her family so well, so there was so much information that you're able to provide. We also had the amazing opportunity to have 5 weeks of rehearsal, which was so essential. I read her book. I watched every single interview I could. I learnt them all verbatim. I could still do them now. I watched her performance videos more times than I could count. It started off with a lot of very terrible mimicry. My family can account to that. And I found her voice really important. I worked with a voice coach and a movement coach for a little bit, and spent a lot of time doing a lot of singing in front of you in a bad wig. So there was a lot of different parts, and the aging was a really big part too, I guess, really trying to track how I wanted that journey to be told over time and how her body changes over time. And it was there was a lot of conversations at the beginning if I would take the story all the way through. And I'm so grateful that you let me do that, because getting the chance to, my parents are always like, oh, you'll be relieved when you turn 40, everything's just less stressful, you don't care as much, and you sit into yourself. And Helen just did that. She was always so herself, but getting to take a break from being a nervous 24-year-old and step into the worldly shoes of Helen was so nice. So yeah. Is that up?
Thank you. Yeah, we have a question. The singing.
What was really integral about this movie was that we really wanted to be able to create Helen's voice in the way that everyone remembers. All those of us who know Helen remember her voice. And so what we did was we really took Tilda's performance as the basis of everything. So Tilda had to really, she did literally sing every day for weeks and weeks. So that when we actually shot the performances, it all became about the emotional moment. As you can see from the film, we interwove the songs so that they started to become part of the storytelling and part of Helen's emotional journey. And it was really key that to make those songs work at the back end, that they had to be really focused on Tilda's performance, which I think she captured so brilliantly. And then later on, we were able to use Helen's voice, and we were also able to use another voice by an incredible young Australian woman who we auditioned people all over the world, and we found someone in Australia, go figure, Chelsea Cullen, and we were able to make those voices really work to Tilda's performance.
Got a question. Yeah, on the balcony. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, the music, it did get better.
It did.
But a question for the actors, when the difference between an approach to a role of a person who did exist versus those scripts of, fictional characters, is there a difference in your confidence or nervousness of portraying those people, building those characters?
Yes.
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 Evan got to meet Jeff before the film.
That's right, I did meet Jeff. It was great meeting him. He was written very flashy and eccentric, and meeting him, he lived up to every expectation. So it was very helpful.
I actually don't know if they're still here, but have they? No.
Yes. We do have the family with us, but they're not here. They are at the music stage because Helen's granddaughter Lily, who sings Revolution in the film, the original song, which is also the final credit music, Lily is going to sing that song on the festival stage at John Street. With the another great Australian, we are a little bit parochial, aren't we? Who actually wrote that for the film. So that's why they're not here. But if you want to see the gorgeous Lily Donat and Tracy, who stars brilliantly in the film from 3 to 18, she'll be there as well.
Amazing. That's going to be exciting tonight at 8, yes. We have a question here. Go ahead.
Yes, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that Helen was a role model for many of us to be who we were when it wasn't really popular. And she's
Jim.
That actually means most of you don't have any idea what that really means to us, because Jim is actually the person that Helen gave all her gold records to at the end of when she decided to leave the industry. And Jim at the time was the head of Helen's fan club and now runs a Facebook page for Helen. And what was really extraordinary in the movie is that all those gold records that you see and that are in the box actually are the ones we borrowed back from Jim. So they're Helen's real gold records.
We have time for a couple of more questions. Yeah, go ahead in the middle and I'll get to you next. Sorry about that. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm raising another generation of very fierce women, one child, 12, and she's already an activist, so thank you for bringing this story to light. But this question is really for Danielle, and you played this actress so wonderfully in the film. Did you prepare for that, or did you read about her? How did you embrace that story that you played her so wonderfully?
Thank you. There was a little bit more limited information. There is actually there's actually a very detailed biography. And then there are some documentaries, there is a documentary about Lillian. My dad actually got super interested in doing all of my research for me, which was very helpful. Like a year before we even started production, I was still doing another role at the time, and I was like, I'll start researching when I finish, and my dad did it all for me, which
Danielle's
thank you, Dad.
Here.
But honestly, I read everything I could. I researched everything I could. Unjoo was honestly a really big help in finding out so much information because she had done so much research herself. And there was no video footage, so I kind of had to... That's the really hard thing about, you feel a lot of responsibility when you're playing a real person, but when you don't have complete source material, it is a little more difficult, so you kind of have to do what you can, imagine yourself, and then also stick true to all the stories, basically, that I heard about her.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I feel, was there someone here that wanted to, up there too? Okay, I'll go to the balcony, it's only fair, go ahead, and then I'll come down.
Oh, to look for Helen. We searched for over a year, and we looked at people, we looked at lots and lots of people in America, in England, and of course we found someone in Australia. But I think I knew, it was almost like I saw a photo of Tilda, and I hadn't seen at that time 52 Tuesdays, which is an extraordinary film that Tilda's done. And Rose had seen the film, so when I rang Rose and said, I think I discovered someone, she said, no, she's done this amazing film before. But I think Tilda and I met, and I knew pretty immediately, because I think that even though Tilda talks about and she did incredible work in preparing for this role. It was extraordinary, and the way she immersed herself, in fact, all three of them did. They immersed themselves so completely in these roles. But I also feel like at the heart of it, there's a little bit of each of those characters in all three of them. You have to remember how charming Jeff is, Evan.
Thank you. Okay, where's the question I missed at the front that I was trying to get? Down here? There's so many. Okay, we'll go to you, and we have time for one. Go ahead. Has Helen seen the film? Yes.
Yes, we screened the film to Helen and Tracy and Jordan and Jeff. And I have to say that was probably, Rose and I were there, and that's probably the the scariest screening I think I'm ever going to do of the film. We hadn't quite finished the film, and Rose and I felt it was very, very important to be able to show them and for them to feel that they were on this journey with us, and also to continue and finish the film with their blessing. It was quite an amazing experience because I sat behind Helen. Helen and Jeff saw it at 2 separate screens, and I sat behind both of them. But Helen she really enjoyed the movie. She was singing along to her own songs and commenting about things. She was absolutely devastated when Lillian Roxon died in the film. She was very with the journey of the movie. And at the end, she was so moved. Like, I hope as many of you were at the end of the film, she was equally moved. And I think it was also the representation of seeing her life on the screen and what she'd experienced. She cried at the end of the film, but really, it wasn't out of sadness. It was just, because of the story and the nature of it and the enormity of what she and I and all of us have been through on this movie, and particularly she and I for 6 years. Jeff had a very similar response as well. I mean, Jeff has been quite extraordinary through this movie. He has really, Jeff is quite an amazing person because he is so charismatic and so engaging, yet he has this kind of other side of him as well, which can be really confronting and difficult. But at the heart of it, I think that Jeff really owns his mistakes. And I think that's an amazing thing for a human being to do. He's always known what happened, what he did. He speaks very, very openly about it, and he certainly spoke very openly to me about it. And when he saw the film, he was prepared to fully own everything that had happened in that relationship. And, he did have tears at the end of at the end of the screening. He was extremely moved by the experience as well.
Thank you. Just want to give a big thank you to all of you for being with us tonight, and thank you for sharing this film with us tonight for the world premiere.